It was chilly, a perfect, crisp fall day. The very tops of the mountains were lightly dusted with snow, though, a sign that winter would be here before we knew it. I watched the clouds trail over the treetops. Last night almost feels like a dream.
Well, it's always a bit like that when something major happens. Even if it's something that happens in plain sight, life has a way of just going on. It's hard to absorb events like that when the mundane things around you keep going as if nothing happened.
No kidding. I was kinda glad I wasn't the only one who'd noticed that. I shot him a sidelong look. That image of him with the blood around his mouth. I mean, I'd known he was a vampire, of course, but that image made it a little more real. But here I was with him in broad daylight, and we were having coffee like normal people, like last night hadn't happened. It was comforting, to be honest. It made things feel less dire. It made it feel as if I could come to accept this as normal. Well, not all of it. Not finding dead bodies. That wasn't normal at all. But the rest of it, maybe. I took a hurried sip of coffee, smiling slightly. I moved a little closer to him and leaned my head on his shoulder as we walked. Aww. I wonder if I can learn to sleep while walking.
You doing that is literally why we're here right now.
I elbowed him lightly. Touché. Hey, I am not the only one to blame, thank you very much.
So, do you want to just sit somewhere or go down to the bakery?
Let's go down to the bakery. I keep worrying my mom is going to see me and demand to know why I said I went out with Allie if I'm running around town with you. And if we stay here, I worry these people are going to drag me to a back room and force answers on me whether I'm ready for them or not. Then demand my firstborn.
I didn't even know you had kids.
Very funny. He grinned and led the way down the sidewalk. We were silent for a few minutes before I decided to ask him about something that had happened the previous night. So I was wondering,
Wondering about what?
Well, Brenna. How did you meet her exactly? I mean, she's your cat. That's weird. How does something like that even happen? If he was surprised I knew about that, he didn't show it. Even though I hadn't mentioned that bit to anyone, just that she'd found me and helped me back. Maybe he thought you already knew.
Well, I don't know. It just happened, really. I found her hanging around one day. Dirty, hungry. So I fed her, thinking she was just a regular stray. Then she stuck around. We just adopted her, because you don't exactly expect a stray cat isn't a cat.
Even when you're a vampire?
Well, I guess I could have been suspicious, but it's kind of weird being suspicious of everything, or worrying that every creature is a cryptic. We still have to live in the real world, after all.
True enough, I suppose. Even I was having a hard time with that. If I found a cat, I probably wouldn't suspect it might be a fairy, vampire, or any other potential shapeshifter.
Anyway, I didn't find out she was unusual until one night it was kind of storming out. I mean, as much as it does here. There was wind, heavy rain. I brought her up into my room thinking I'd let her stay inside for the night, even though she never really seemed to want to be inside. And then, suddenly, it wasn't a cat curled up on my bed. It was Brenna.
Wearing that brown scanty outfit she wears when she transforms? I bet your parents loved that.
Well, you know, I stay in an apartment above the garage, so they don't come up to my room much. And she wasn't wearing that.
Oh no, is she completely naked? I gave him a curious look, suspicious, wondering why he said it like that. His face was awfully red. I raised an eyebrow, watching him curiously. What was she wearing, then? Elliot cleared his throat awkwardly and wouldn't meet my eyes. He He's totally seen her naked, hasn't he? I could absolutely see Brenna doing that to him just for her own amusement. I'm surprised, honestly, she didn't do that to you. It might normally have been amusing to me as well, but somehow it really irritated me instead. I huffed a sigh and looked away, wondering if I should prod further. I didn't even know if I wanted to. A flash of red caught my eye down the street. Well, not the red so much as the person it was attached to. Spencer? I froze. Come on, we were just having like a good bonding moment about naked Brenna. He wasn't alone either. Crossing with him from the other side of the street was Grant Mitchell. Ugh! Again? I really couldn't catch a break. In a moment of panic, I grabbed Elliot and pulled him into the alley, pressing him against the wall.
Nora?
It's Spencer! And Grant Mitchell.
Where?
About 2 blocks down. He started to stick his head out to look, but I yanked him back and dragged the hoodie over his head. He peered at me questioningly from under the edge. That purple hair kinda stands out.
Good point.
He peeked around the corner for a long moment, then ducked back into the alley with a frown.
They went into the murder.
They can't possibly know what kind of cafe it is, right? Well, Spencer is sensitive, and Grant may also be sensitive.
I wouldn't be so sure, honestly. It's used by humans sometimes too, rarely. And Grant is elbow deep into trying to investigate the paranormal things in Pine Hollow. He might know enough about it to stop in for more than coffee.
They're almost definitely going there because of me, if that's the case.
Even if that's true, they might be hesitant to help him because of what he's like. But I don't know. Even if Corvin is wary of him, as a whole, they try to stay neutral.
Maybe I should have asked them for help first.
Look, in the end, Spencer is looking for the same thing you are. If he gets answers, it'll benefit you as well, right?
I don't know about that anymore.
Maybe we should probably head back to the school just to stay out of sight. I didn't expect those two to be prowling around.
Yeah. Well, we came through there, so how do we get back?
Guess we'll have to go the long way. Up for a walk?
I guess I don't have a choice. He grabbed my sleeve and pulled me through the alley toward the other side.
We'll go the back way.
Fun. I feel like I'm in a really lame action flick.
Are you saying I'm not a good action movie hero?
Well, the vampire isn't usually the hero, but I guess you're not too bad. Maybe if you had a trench coat and sunglasses? You also really have to work on your one-liners.
I think my one-liners are pretty good, actually.
I've never even heard you use a proper one-liner.
You're just not around during my coolest moments.
Uh-huh. I caught his hand and tugged him back. I mean, I think I saw you be cool at least once. Maybe more than that. I shot him an awkward smile as I laced my fingers through his. We should hurry. It's not that long of a walk. Not that long of a walk. Right. It was probably an hour later before we made it back. Not for lack of trying. It was just that, well, we encountered a few issues on the way. Do go on. We were finally standing by the front entrance, panting slightly as Elliot glanced back behind us.
I think we finally lost her.
Brenna? Jeez, what the heck is her problem?
I have no idea. Come on. We should get inside, quick.
I glanced back, but there was no trace of that creepy lady. Oh, okay, not Brenna then. She'd been really intent on touching my face. I had no idea why. I had no idea what she was. A creepy witch, some type of fairy maybe, since Elliot couldn't really see her. Either way, she was definitely persistent. Elliot tried to scare her off, but she stalked us nearly all the way back. We tried to lose her several times, so we'd taken several detours on the way back. Stupid fairy thing! Elliot led me back around to a side entrance the club members could access without a key.
Under the circumstances, I guess leaving again is a bad idea.
Believe me, I have no intentions of going anywhere near town until the holiday is over. And I'm not really interested in leaving the school in general until the issue with my brother is sorted.
Hopefully that'll be soon.
We headed upstairs, and again, I was struck by how creepy the school was when it was empty. What was up with that? I mean, I knew my school was special, but it was definitely just a school thing in general. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many horror games and movies in empty schools. Regardless of the creep factor, we made it upstairs without incident. Not that I expected otherwise. It was a relief when we finally flopped on the sofa. I felt stupidly exhausted after all that. And it was supposed to just be a quiet trip for coffee. Why is it? Whenever we're hanging out, it never goes as planned.
I don't know. Sorry about that.
It wasn't your fault, Elliot. I didn't mean it like that. Elliot let out a long sigh.
Well, in the end, all of this is my fault anyway. If I hadn't scared you last night.
That again? Man, I'd really screwed up by running away like that. I mean, I think it was a perfectly reasonable reaction considering the circumstances. I hadn't wanted to hurt him. I just hadn't been thinking clearly, and the way it looked... Ugh, I can't believe I doubted him. That has nothing to do with this. I should have trusted you more. Besides, nothing bad came specifically from me being scared. Even if it hadn't happened, Spencer still would have been waiting for me, we still would have fought, and we'd still be here now, wouldn't we?
I guess so.
Strangely, his voice seemed a little sluggish when he said that. I peered over at him. He was slumped down against the back of the sofa, and for the first time I realized how pale he was. I mean, he was always pale, but it was worse than usual. He tipped his head back and closed his eyes. I prodded him gently. Hey, are you okay?
Just a little dizzy, that's all.
From the venom from last night?
No. I think most of that is worn off. Just hungry.
Hungry. Ah. He peeked at me with one eye, a worried look on his face. It's okay. I'm not freaked out, if that's what you're thinking.
You sure?
I'm fine. Anyway, how long has it been since you've eaten?
Yesterday morning, I guess. Didn't really, have dinner or anything. And that guy, I mean...
He shifted awkwardly, refusing to look at me.
I wasn't really eating. I spit that out. I mean, it was venom-laced, and I only swallowed some by accident.
Are you sure you're okay? He looked like he was about to pass out, but he just laughed dryly when I asked that.
I'll be fine. Just... It's not quite like it is in movies, but I guess we're a little worse off than humans when we don't eat. Lose strength pretty fast and all that. We used to keep spare bags here in the club, but... A couple of years ago, the rules on that changed. So we can't now.
That was stupid. Especially if it was such a big issue for them. Jeez. Wasn't the school supposed to be some kind of hub or haven for supernatural people? Can't we just go back, like, through the door to your house and get those blood tablets or whatever you ingest quick? No? And Elliot said he'd be okay, but he was looking really woozy. I was assuming all the running around we did hadn't helped, but he was kind of looking worse by the second. And it wasn't even lunchtime yet. I had no idea if or when anyone else who could bring him something would come by. Everyone was pretty busy, especially now. You gonna do it, girl? You gonna do it? I bit my lip and spoke before I really knew what I was saying. Do you, I mean, I can let you, just a little? Elliot's eyes flew open and he sat up suddenly, then swayed and put a hand to his head. I grabbed his shoulders, steadying him as much as I could. Whoa! You okay?
Yeah, just sat up a little too fast.
My heart was thudding uncomfortably as it really sank in what I'd just offered him. Elliot licked his lips nervously as he looked down at me.
About what you just said.
I mean it. I'm okay with it. I wasn't sure I was, but I just wanted him to know that I trusted him, that I liked him, that I was okay with him being what he was. I needed him to know that. He'd been so kind to me, and I'd been just a horrible mess this whole time. Elliot put his hands on my shoulders and looked down at me seriously.
No.
Huh?
No. I'm not doing that. I could never. I mean, you're not food.
Elliot dragged a hand through his hair and leaned over, resting his elbows on his knees.
I used to... it's a little weird, but I used to really want to do the whole vampire thing. Bite someone, see what it was really like. I always thought it would be kind of, I don't know. It's just what vampires do, right? But after last night, I guess I just realized. You don't treat people you care about that way. If that was all I wanted from someone, then there's no way I could claim to care about them.
I don't think that's all you want from me. I'm just offering...
No. I'll be fine. Please don't offer that.
He gave me a pained smile and reached over to tuck my hair behind my ear. His thumb lingered over my cheek for a moment.
I'm trying to be all noble here. But the truth is, if you keep offering, then I might not have the strength to keep saying no. Because no matter what I say, there's a pretty big part of me that still thinks it would be kind of romantic. But a bigger part of me says treating someone like food or using them for my convenience isn't romantic at all. And that's the part I think I should listen to.
He laughed awkwardly.
Sorry. Sorry for being weird.
You're not weird. Not at all. I felt relieved and glad that he'd rejected that offer. And also guilty for feeling that way. Ugh, this whole thing was so confusing. But his reasoning made sense, and I was happy to hear him say he cared about me, even though I already knew he did.
Hey.
Yeah?
Thanks for offering, though?
He gave me a crooked grin.
Not everyone would casually offer to let their vampire friend bite them,
Yeah, well, what are friends for? We both laughed, but awkward silence quickly descended. This boy is too precious for this world, I swear. Elliot, about last night.
If you're going to apologize again...
I am. Because I need to. I shouldn't have run away like that. I should have asked what you were doing.
Anyone would have...
No, they wouldn't. Allie wouldn't have. Danny wouldn't have. But I did. And I shouldn't have either. I'm so used to looking at things from the perspective of a normal person, but I feel like I've got to get out of that habit. You guys deal with things I can't imagine. I think it's kind of not accurate to so decidedly say Allie and Danny wouldn't have run away. I'm trying to remember, because on Danny's route, he explained how they met. One of them ran away from the others. Like, I can't remember if Danny ran away from Elliot or if Elliot ran away from Danny. I kind of think Elliot might have run away from Danny when they first met. So it's not it's not a crazy reaction. I mean, you and Mark put yourselves in serious danger to find that feral. Numerous times. I'm going to keep telling you that you're an incredible person until you believe me.
I'm not... I mean...
He looked away. I took a deep breath and reached up, forcing him to look down at me. You are.
Nora.
He swallowed and leaned toward me, eyes half closed. One hand strayed to my cheek again. I reached up and covered it with my own. I bit my lip as I looked up at him, unsure what he was going to do. I wasn't even sure what I wanted him to do. Aww, look at these two goobers. Maybe if I completely filled my head with Elliot, everything else would fade to the point I didn't have to worry about changelings or ferals, vampires, or anything else for a while. I closed my eyes and leaned into his hand, feeling his fingers moving across my cheek in the barest hint of a caress, then the feather-light feeling of his thumb across my lips. There was a long pause when nothing happened, when all I could hear was the sound of my own heart and the very faint sound of Elliot's breath as he leaned closer. Was I ready to commit to this? To being with a vampire? Did I want to commit that much of my life to all this supernatural stuff? To trying to keep that secret as well? My head was filled with so many questions, so much uncertainty. I liked him. I did. It was just... Aw. This boy! Of course, he's touching her. He can feel, like, all the uncertainty, like, billowing off of her, basically. I felt his lips press gently against the side of my head. My eyes flew open. I want to take a closer look at that, too. Mwah. That wasn't what I was expecting. I looked up at him, surprised, but he just smiled gently, then flicked my nose as if trying to break the strange tension in the air.
We're both being too serious about all this. I'm just a little hungry. It's not a big deal.
That was not at all what I was just thinking about. He moved away from me slightly. My chest tightened as I studied his face. He could have kissed me then. He could have taken a bite. I'd have let him. I knew he wanted to do both, but he didn't. Without thinking, I hugged him tightly. He stiffened in surprise before relaxing. Thank you.
I already said you don't have to say that.
I know, but I still want to say it. I'm going to say it. You can't stop me, so there. He laughed softly and rested his chin on the top of my head as he wound his arms around me.
So stubborn.
You know it.
Well, I don't mind it all that much. I mean, it's sort of cute.
Hey, I'm not cute.
And tiny.
Hey! I pulled away and punched him on the arm.
And violent.
That just means you have bad taste.
No. I think I have really great taste.
For a moment, the awkward tension started to seep back in. I let out a shaky breath and jumped up, shoving my hands in my pockets. I'm going to the restroom. I'll be back. You should call Allie or someone to see if they can bring you food. I mean, if you start gnawing on the edge of the furniture in desperation, Velos is going to be ticked.
I'm a vampire, not a werewolf.
I'll tell Danny you said that. Does Danny know you think he chews on the furniture?
You just said I chew on the furniture.
I shot him a teasing grin as I quickly retreated into the hall. Be back soon! Let me guess. Spencer/Grant Mitchell. I went swiftly down the hall, but stopped a little way down and pressed my hands to my face. Okay. She's just reacting to the almost kiss, almost bite. Gotcha. Whew. I need like a 5-minute break from being pursued. Whoa. Okay, so that happened. When all this was over, I really, really needed to give him a proper answer. Rather, I really needed to tell him I felt the same way. Though surely, he had to know already, right? Never assume. I ended up going downstairs to find a bathroom because I wasn't sure where the 4th floor ones were, and it was too creepy up there to look around. Then I ended up just heading all the way down just to give myself more time to think about what happened up in the club room. I mean, I really should just stop delaying and tell him. And tell him I liked him when I got back to the club. Just tell him that, yes, I wanted to date. And things. I smiled slightly. This was totally the worst time for romantic confessions. I was an idiot. But I guess this stuff didn't wait for the right moment. There probably wasn't really a correct time to, feel things. And we were going to be feeling this way whether it was out in the open or not. So might as well just throw it out there so we could stop being all tense about it. You got this, girl. I was feeling a bit calmer by the time I was ready to head back up to the 4th floor. Or at least a bit more like myself and a little less melodramatic. I bit back a yawn as I walked back toward the stairs. Maybe I'd just have a nap or something. I was pretty tired. But when I heard voices coming from down near the stairs, it definitely woke me up instantly. I let out a soft, panicked squeak and ducked into a side hallway. Were there people here? Teachers? Ugh, go home, you workaholics! If that's who it was, I was going to have a hard time explaining what I was doing here. Maybe it's just Velos and someone. They were definitely male. I wonder who it could be. Though I had no idea why Velos would be down here. He usually used the library as his way in and out. I stood for a minute, trying to listen, but I could only make out a dull murmur. I really felt like I'd been spending a lot of time lately hiding and eavesdropping on people. I was going to need a theme song soon. Indeed. Okay, I was going to have to get closer to figure out who that was and how to get past them. Hopefully it was just a couple of teachers here for nerdy teacher things. Is this your listening theme song? Do, 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 do. I love it. I crept very carefully down the hall, grateful I'd just grabbed a pair of tennis shoes during my dramatic flight from home earlier that morning. I ducked into another side corridor and paused briefly to listen before slipping into the main hall and stealing a bit closer. I played the game of ducking in and out of side hallways until the voices were just around the corner, which was at the foot of the stairs. Wow! I'm shocked that it's you two. How do we even know those people were being serious? Okay, so you talked to the murder folks. Oh my god, him again. This was getting ridiculous. How did he even know I was here?
They have a reputation for helping people out. It's been hard to dig up anything on them, but from what I grasp, they broker information throughout the paranormal people here.
The murder? So they were trying to get info on me from there. Yeah, but all they told us was that our answer was here. Not that helpful.
I think what's here is your sister, and she does have our answers.
I can't believe they ratted me out. I was so kicking Corvin's butt next time I saw him. Merle too. Kaya, nah. Not sure about that one. She kinda scared me. Truth.
We need to find her and get her somewhere we can get those answers out of her, before any of the rest of them see us.
What? They're doing what? Great. Spencer has evolved from stalker to kidnapper. If they're up in that stupid room...
Let me handle the club room. You stay here in case someone tries to come down or go up.
Wonderful. Footsteps disappeared upstairs, but only one set. I assumed Spencer was lurking there at the bottom of the stairs like Grant told him. "I've got a weak vampire boy up there. He hasn't eaten." Can I just shout, "Yo, I'm here!" And then they can chase me. Now what was I supposed to do? There was a set of back stairs, and the elevator. I wasn't sure I could get there without him hearing me, and the elevator would definitely attract attention. Not to mention that both ways were terrifying. I used the elevator once. Never again. It felt like something was in there with me the whole time. And that end of the hall up there was just, well, I wasn't terribly certain there wasn't something awful lurking up there. I was going to have to either hide and wait it out or take the back stairs. Hiding would be fine unless they decided to do a sweep of the empty classes or something. I didn't know how determined they were, but they had followed me here in the first place, so I didn't think I could count on them giving up. I am so not cut out for this ninja crap. At the very least, if I had to hide somewhere, hiding closer to the club room was probably wiser. If I could get in there, I'd be fine. So I had to try to make it to the back stairs. The only way was going to be through the school infirmary, since that would let me cross to the back side of the school without him seeing. Hopefully. I'll just have to be quiet. But now that there was no conversation to cover up my movements, I was paranoid about every single sound I made. Fortunately, the infirmary was pretty close by. I picked up the pace and had nearly made it when... Hi! Hey! Shoot! I guess I'd made more noise than I realized. Either that or his ears were very finely tuned. I yanked the door open and darted through the room into the hall on the other side. Spencer must not have worked out where I was going, because I had time to beat him to the end of the side hall and start toward the stairs before I heard him coming after me. At this point, I didn't know what to do. Try to make it up to the 4th floor before he caught me, or run outside. I had to make a decision quickly, because he was already heading my way. Look, girl, I'm gonna tell you what I always tell Becca when I'm trying to keep her alive. Go outside. Draw him away from the club. Save your boy. It's the only way. My only choice at this point was to get outside and hide somewhere. That would also draw Spencer away from the club. I didn't want to fight with him anymore, but I was not letting them kidnap me for their stupid vendetta or whatever. I was grateful the school, like everything else in Pine Hollow, was nestled right up next to a heavily wooded area. It gave me a place to run to and hide. I made a beeline for the nearest exit and burst outside, flinching at the bright light. Back to the woods I go! I darted across the parking lot and into the trees without a moment's hesitation. To be honest, I was kind of running blind. I wasn't at all familiar with the woods around the school. Not exactly like hiking was a part of the everyday curriculum. As long as I could get away from him, it didn't matter. To my surprise, Spencer didn't follow me past the tree line. Uh-oh. That's not how this is supposed to go. The school was out of sight in seconds, and I ducked behind a large tree, crouching down as I tried to listen for sounds of pursuit. Nothing. He'd probably followed me out of the school, though I hadn't been paying close enough attention, really. But there's no way he'd have been able to sneak around in the brush without me hearing. Did he stop in the parking lot? He'd had some bad experiences in the woods, so he might be pretty hesitant to follow me in. Especially if he was afraid I'd use my evil changeling powers on him. That was convenient, but now what? It wasn't safe out here. If it wasn't evil feral vampires that would get me, the fairies and drifters would. The safest place was probably with Elliot, but I didn't know how to get to where he was without encountering Spencer or Grant, or both. So, home then? The problem with that was that I couldn't navigate my way home through the woods. I wasn't some kind of mountain woman. Even if these were the same woods that crawled up the mountains, and the same ones that eventually meandered over to our neighborhood, I'd get completely lost if I tried to navigate home through them. You know, you have a phone? Maybe you should, text your boy and be like, I'm hiding in the woods. Help! I'd have to go back out to the road and walk, which meant being out in the open, which meant being somewhere they could find me. This is so ridiculous. Maybe I should just find a big stick, go back, and start hitting people with it. Ugh. I crouched down, gripping my head tightly as I tried to work out what to do next. I mean, my brother was trying to kidnap me. Not a development I was thrilled with. What are they even going to do once they get me? Poke me with forks until I confess all our dirty secrets? Then again, given how stupid they were being at the moment, poking me with forks was probably the best I could hope for. Either that or a cliché interrogation in a dark basement or something. I didn't want to think either of them was capable of worse than that. But, well, it was hard to have faith in people willing to stoop to kidnapping. Maybe I can just wait them out. Spencer would give up eventually, but I didn't know if Grant would. And there was the whole bit where being outside wasn't currently especially safe for me. Ugh! I stood up angrily. This was so stupid. I couldn't just sit here playing out every possible scenario. I needed to do something. And hiding wasn't it. I needed to just go back, find my stupid brother and his stupid evil minion, and bang their stupid heads together until they agreed to leave me alone. Stupid. Brenna? Was that a cat? Well, I mean, obviously that was a cat. Not just any cat, a very familiar black cat that lightly pranced out of the brush. I froze. Brenna? I glanced around, then peered back around the tree. Still no signs of pursuit for now. I lowered my voice and crouched down. What are you doing here? She let out another meow, turned and hopped back into the ferns. Helping me again? Giving up on the idea of beating anyone's heads together, I scrambled after her. Maybe she was going to lead me somewhere safe? She'd done it before. Brow furrowed, I picked my way through the underbrush. I could catch flashes of her hopping through the ferns and undergrowth here and there, but she definitely wasn't stopping to wait for me. So rude. She led me down a short slope covered in a tangle of brambles. I painfully made my way down, wincing as thorns jabbed my leg straight through my jeans. I awkwardly hopped into the clearing at the bottom, struggling to tear my foot away from the vines. Brenna disappeared behind a tree at the other side of the clearing. Wait! Jeez! I stumbled around the tree after her. Whoa! As soon as I rounded the side of the tree, Brenna was right there. She grabbed my shoulders and slammed me into it, pinning me there. You're slow. Sorry. Wasn't really prepared for a forest hike. By the way, it's not quite as easy for me to stroll through blackberry vines as it is for you and your slinky little cat body. She smirked slightly at that. Where are you taking me anyway? Here. Oh. Why though? Just to hear? Ah. It's that time, is it? Brenna shoved something toward me. A small flask with gold liquid sloshing in the bottom. Did she steal that from the chemistry lab? I wouldn't put it past her. What I didn't know was what was in it. Looked a bit suspicious, to be honest. What is this? Something that will resolve your issue. Careful wording. What issue specifically is going to be resolved by this? What is it you humans say? Give me a break. You already know the answer, don't you? Why you're sleepwalking, why you hear that voice whispering in your head, why you see that tramp out of the corner of your eyes or lurking in the mirror. Wait, what? How did she even know all that? But eyes so wild, your disgrace, with the queer brown face, was never, never, I know, but half your child. You know what it means, right? It felt like the air was sucked out of my lungs. Changeling. I breathed the word softly, sudden anxiety churning in my stomach. Brenna tipped her head back. You see, you're not even the least surprised. I mean, I suspected it. But if you knew it all this time, why didn't you say anything? Did I have a reason to? Do you have a reason to now? Brenna smiled slightly, amused by that, but I didn't think she was going to answer somehow. You said this would fix it. I'm not explaining it to you. Humans don't get to know our secrets. But I'm not human. You just said I'm a changeling. That makes me Fae, doesn't it? You don't know anything about us. Don't think that you understand us just because you read a book or two. Why would you help me? I'm not helping you! You just don't want them to have their way. There is that. But also, for that idiot child as well. He helped me first, and I repay my debts. That child. You're doing this to help Elliot. She shrugged and pushed the potion at me again. I'm not drinking that. She may have helped me a few times, but I really didn't trust her as far as I could spit. Besides, I wasn't okay with drinking something without an explanation. What did she mean that I was human? If I was the human half of a changeling exchange, then there was no reason to help me, was there? And that didn't even make sense because I was still with my family, and the whole point of changelings was that the human was kidnapped. I could make you take it, you know. You could try. I think I heard voices this way. Oh shoot, Spencer? He followed me after all? He must have just been waiting for Grant to come help him look. And I'd made quite a lot of noise when following Brenna, too. That's my brother. We should get out of here. You should have just taken it when I offered. That would have made this so much less painful. Huh? Okay. I didn't have time to dodge. Brenna just threw that stuff in my face. There wasn't much there, but it felt like just about all of it went straight up my nose somehow. Because of course it did. I stood there wheezing and trying to cough the weird taste and smell out so I could decide how mad I was. What is the matter with you? My voice was weirdly hoarse and my throat burned. A wave of dizziness slammed into me, sending me crashing to the ground. It felt like a spark of fire lit in the center of my forehead, then raced through my entire body. I curled into the fetal position, unable to even scream through the intense pain. What? Why? I said, I'm solving your problem. Like I said, it would have been best if you let me tell you how to do it, but now, well, with luck, you'll actually survive. As she crouched next to me, I was dimly aware of someone crashing toward us through the trees. Someone shouted. Brenna hissed and jerked away from me. The last I saw of her was a black cat hopping into the trees. Then the world spun away from me and everything went black.